1 in the Gibbs cars. The 20 machine, Drew Herring on the pole. Michael McDowell on the outside. The full house of fans in Iowa on their feet, and we're underway. Herring gets clear in the 20 car. He's going to lead lap 1. Here's Edwards wiggling and wobbling up turn 4.
Yeah, I think early on with all of this rubber washed off this racetrack, that bottom groove is going to be the most important place to be.
Now, somebody forgot to tell Carl Edwards he's still working that high side.
Yeah, he's got the back end hung out off every corner on that high side. Now he tries to go to the bottom.
Pressing Michael McDowell for second spot. McDowell had a handful of steering wheel up off the turn 2. Talked about it on Countdown, the big bump there where the tunnel accessing the infield goes across the middle of the track right about there. And it can sometimes make those drivers grab a handful of steering wheel to keep control.
Yeah, the way they have to coil bind the front of these cars with the springs there, it makes it a very rough ride through there. And it goes all the way to the top of the racetrack, so it's not like you can dodge it.
I think it's Sadler in the 2, Austin Dillon in the 33. Working on Carl Edwards in the 60. That's for third spot.
This is a fast racetrack. It's 7/8 of a mile, and you've got to have the car so free to make the speed around here. So it's kind of treacherous for these drivers. It will spread out, the groove will, but you really have to have the car free.
Now, I'll just point out quickly also, somebody else to keep an eye on today, that yellow car right there, 32 Reed Sorensen. We haven't talked a lot about him yet in our telecast, but I suspect we will as the day goes on.
Yeah, he likes these type of racetracks. You can think back to others, the track that was in St. Louis, similar to this. And even though this isn't exactly like that, it has a lot of speed to it. And Andy, as you were talking about, you have to make that car turn in the center. That's where that bump down in 1 and 2 comes into play, because a number of drivers will tell me if your car's loose there, then it accentuates that. If it's a little bit tight, then it makes the front end go away. So you really have to work hard.
Yeah, going back to Reed Sorensen, he's been so good at that track in St. Louis, winning a couple races there, that he's used to handling these kind of issues with bumps and carrying and that sort of thing. And this is a unique track as well. So he's had a solid year so far too. Reed Sorensen has.
Well, how impressive these two Gibbs guys in these cars, starting on the front row. Not a lot of experience, but jumped out there and put a little distance on the rest of the field.
Yeah, looking at Drew Herring, he started on the pole in a USAR Pro Series race, and he finished second in that race. Had a lot of laps. Easy to say, though.
Easy for you to say, yeah. Now let's check on Justin Allgaier. We documented his story just before the green flag and talked about watching him try to pick his way up through the traffic. 31 car there. Allgaier, first laps in this race car are these first laps in the race. They never got out in the backup car after they crashed on Saturday.
Yeah, I talked to Jimmy Elledge, the crew chief on the car, and he said that they had, this is actually not a great backup car. They wish they had something better, not quite as good as their primary car. They're going to have better backup cars as they go. They've been really concentrating on their primary cars, but this is a car they ran at Bristol, so they had some confidence in it.
Michael, got more?
Yeah, I echo the thoughts of Andy. I also spoke with Jimmy Elledge. I asked him what was on his mind after wrecking the primary race car. He said, quote, "I wish it kept raining." Obviously, they had a lot of faith in that primary car. The attitude for the driver, though, a lot different. I spoke with Justin Allgaier after the crash. I asked him what his expectations were going into this race. He kind of gave me a blank stare and a wry smile. He asked me, "Do you remember where I started in Bristol last spring?" Of course I did not. He reminded me he started at the back of the field that day as well. He went to victory lane. He came across as very confident. He knows he has a long way to go, but believes he can get the job done today.
And just before he crashed that car in practice, he set the fastest time so far in the practice session, so he does have confidence that he'll run well.
Didn't Carl Edwards mention Austin Dillon when we interviewed him in Countdown? Dillon just by Edwards for a spot. Now Edwards trying to come back. This is racing for 5th and 6th here.
Yeah, a little lesson there about these cars for young Austin Dillon. He made the pass down into turn 3. Got in there a little bit too hard, though. Was up the racetrack. Allowed Carl to get back, but he's able to power around in turn 2.
I think right there you see the better car really prevailing in that battle. And Austin Dillon, like you said, getting some of that experience from somebody like Carl Edwards, really invaluable.
See Ricky Stenhouse coming into the mix, too. He was here all day practicing what practice they got yesterday. Expect a lot out of him here today.
And what about about Brad Keselowski? We talked about Allgaier. First laps in that backup car when the race started. Here's Keselowski. Did not get to come over here and practice on Friday because practice was rained out. Didn't get to practice yesterday. Chose to stay in Charlotte, concentrate on the Cup race. His first laps in this race car, the opening laps of this race.
He said he had a lot of confidence in Sam Hornish, who obviously is a teammate there at Penske Racing. It looks like Sam must have done a pretty good job, but a little bit loose there, trying to hold it out a little too long, getting down into one.
The spotlight's bright glare, huh? So Keselowski hanging in there right now in 8th position, one of the winners of the 2 previous Nationwide Series races at this track. Of course, Kyle Busch the other. Kyle not in the race today. Watching Edwards 60 and Stenhouse in the 6. Roush Fenway teammates racing for 6th and 7th spots.
There you see that bump.
Yeah,
that was really a big wiggle for the 60.
And Carl says, okay, need to work on this a little more on the first pit stop. We are caution-free so far. Caution-free so far here in Iowa after 14 of 250 laps. We return to Iowa after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Iowa and the Iowa Speedway, early going of today's race. You're watching the Joe Gibbs Racing tandem, but not the drivers you normally see in those 20 and 18 cars. It is 24-year-old Drew Herring, a North Carolina native, out in front in the 20, and Michael McDowell in that 18 car. They started 1-2. They are running 1-2. Again, still early in the going today. Mentioned Kenny Wallace becoming the second driver in the Nationwide Series to get 500 starts. Another piece of history for today's race. The first time in Nationwide Series history that 3 female drivers have competed in today's race. Jennifer Jo Cobb there in the 13, who has been running the series regularly all season, joined today by Amber and Angela Cope, 27-year-old twins, yes, related to the Daytona 500 winner Derek Cope. They are trying to pick their way up the racing ladder. Washington State natives moved to North Carolina. They've come up through kart racing, and they're doing late model racing, and they've run a truck series race and now making their way into the Nationwide Series.
Picked a tough race to do it at, I can tell you that. This is a tough track by talking to these drivers. See, Josh Wise on pit road now. Looked like he might have had some type of brake problem as he came onto pit road. Really slow, and then the crew had to stop the car in the pit.
Yeah, they got the hood up, and you see the official waving at the rear of the car. They must have an issue with the right rear caliper, brake line, something back there.
Shannon, you have more on Josh?
Yeah, guys, just hearing from the team that it's actually a brake issue with the 7 car. This is something that they struggled with last time they were here in Iowa. In fact, Tony Jr. told me yesterday they had to bleed the brakes twice during the race because he completely lost them, Josh Wise that is. So they used a little bit more of an aggressive package here today, but right now they're having problems with them all over again.
Andy, I'm not the crew chief, but 25 laps into the race and you're on pit road with brake problems.
Yeah, it sounds like they've probably got some kind of malfunction more than say just abusing the brakes to failure, because it's too early for that. Looking at the rear of the car, that's the least stressed part of the brake system is on the rear, so they probably just have some kind of malfunction back there.
3rd, 4th, and 5th. Elliott Sadler in the 2. Reed Sorensen in the 32, being chased down by Austin Dillon in the 33. Did I hear Brad call that this race a must-win for Elliott Sadler earlier?
Well, I think he's got to put himself in a position. They're getting to that point. They need to do that. And my question is, did we make sure that Drew Herring and Michael McDowell got in here, and that's not Joey Logano and Kyle Busch, because these guys are doing a great job.
I was talking to McDowell yesterday. He had the fastest laps during practice for quite some time in that 18 car. He got out of the car, they were making a big change. He was all smiles. I mean, it was pasted from ear to ear. And he came over and we were talking, and he said, you know what, one of the biggest differences is, he said, when this team makes a big change, you go back out there and you have an idea what the car's going to do. He said, sometimes in some teams you make a big change and you never know whether the splitter's going to be bouncing off the track or it's going to be wiggling and wobbling or where. He said this team's cars are predictable, and as a driver, that allows you to give them better feedback.
I think it really says a lot for the people that Joe Gibbs Racing has, running this operation. Jason Ratcliffe's a great crew chief, and he does things in a very methodical way. And Kyle Busch has been a big part of building this team. I mean, he's built this thing with the crew and the crew chief, and for somebody to get into that thing, like Michael McDowell, I can see why he'd be all smiles. I mean, who wouldn't want to get in this car?
Yeah, and even though there's a lot of pressure, get those comparisons to produce like Kyle Busch has done this year, that's a lot of pressure. But you have to believe in your talents, and when you know that you have a team behind you like that, it makes it a lot better. We see Reed Sorensen take that third spot from Elliott Sadler now.
Sorensen 2.6 seconds behind the Gibbs guys. It is Herring and McDowell running 1-2. Again, competition caution coming up if we don't see a yellow first, about 20 laps from now. Caution free so far in Iowa, and the rain looks like it's going to stay away. At 7 Eastern, the Red Sox starting a 3-game series against the AL Central leading Indians. Major League Baseball, ESPN Sunday and ESPN2 Monday here at Iowa. New leader in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race, Michael McDowell.
Catching a lot of traffic right now. You can see ahead of him. But Michael McDowell does a little better job of negotiating this traffic. He takes an opportunity to take the lead.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, did Drew Herring get out there a little too aggressive? You see him 3 wide here with the leader.
Speaking of aggressive.
Yeah. But you can see Michael McDowell's really kept his car on the bottom for all of these first 38 laps. And that seems to be the best place right now. I'm not sure that's going to change throughout this day too much. We're going to have multiple crews, but that bottom is going to work the best.
Kind of accordioning back together after spreading out for a little while. This group racing in the heart of the top 10. Elliott Sadler in the 2, sliding back to 5th. He's got Stenhouse in the 6 and Edwards in the 60 chasing after, with Edwards now sliding up into the 6th position. What's Carl saying, Dave?
Well, Alan, he started 4th, so he's lost some ground because of a loose race car. Thankfully, his team knows what that means. That's because of the guy on the right. Brian Eichler was a substitute driver who jumped in the car after Carl left this racetrack yesterday to go win the Sprint All-Star race. Eichler said, when I jumped in the car, the track changed tremendously, and we were able to try things on the race car so that the 60 car has gone through the gamut from being very loose to being very tight, and crew chief Mike Bean knows how to adjust to that. Right now, Carl's car is too loose, and he can't wait to get on pit road and have some adjustments.
I know the track really hasn't changed any, but as far as the bump, but it sure is showing up. We see that shot there of those cars going across that tunnel where that bump is, and it really is upsetting a lot of cars. Looks like Carl's struggling with that some too.
Second place here, Sorensen on the move, trying to get by Herring. Sorensen in the 32. Andy, let me throw one other thing at you. Might it also be, this is the first time this next generation Nationwide car is here with that splitter? Does it just look like the bump is bigger because of the way the cars are?
Alan, these cars do have less total travel than the old cars did. They're restricted on how much they can travel the car by that splitter you see on the front. So they have to stop that travel with the spring, and it's really harsh. And so that's probably a lot of it. You're probably right there that they have never run this car here before.
No place for the car to go because you got to keep that splitter up off the ground. Now Sorensen chipping his way toward the front, Dave.
Alan, we were talking about brakes earlier to the negative side with the Josh Wise car. That yellow 32 of Reed Sorensen yesterday, they spent a lot of time working on changing brake pads. Sorensen wanted a brake pad that when he stomped on the brakes didn't catch the car quite as harshly. Crew Chief Trent Owens told me that they made that brake pad replacement and it really helped his entry into the corner. It didn't get as loose for him. He was able to control the car just like that as he passes Herring for second.
Yeah, Dave brings up a good point on brakes. They're kind of like tires. They have different compounds, and the softer compound pads will actually be a more aggressive feel when you hit the brake pedal, stop the car quicker, but they can cause some problems. The other thing with brake pads is you want them to release quickly, too. When you let the brake pedal off, you want them to release, and some do that better than others.
5 to the top, yellow, 3 back.
And as a driver, you can get in there and you can adjust that brake bias. So if you get that pad that doesn't stop it quite as quick, but you need a little bit more rear brake to help your car maybe in the center of the corner, then you just adjust that instead of having all of that pad. As we see, wow, a lot happening right here into turn 1.
Big lap traffic for some of the lead lap cars. Edwards is through it. Kozlowski and Stenhouse are racing through it. 39 car they're trying to work around is Luis Martinez Jr., last year's Rookie of the Year in the NASCAR K&N West Series, one of the steps on the NASCAR developmental ladder.
Yeah, you see Jason Leffler, who's in the 9th spot in that 38 car there. He's made his way up into this mix also.
Heard the team radio a minute ago. The competition caution just a few laps away. By the way, Josh Wise just leaving pit road and rejoining the race in the 7 car. He's going to be 25 laps down. Ouch. that's what they had in mind.
No, that's unfortunate.
We're showing the 2-car there, some of Elliott Sadler, and I was talking to him about this racetrack, and I asked him a lot about that bump because it seems to be something that everybody talked about. I hate that we keep talking about it, but it's very prevalent. You can see it so much. But he said, Dale, I'm trying to make a comparison of a track that you've run that we have a bump that affects your car that much. And he says, honestly, I can't think of anywhere. He said it's probably the biggest bump that we have that really affects you that much. And that's not a negative against the track. Rusty Wallace and everybody here have done a fantastic job with this racetrack, but they've tried to do some different things with it, but it keeps coming back, and it's an issue the drivers have to deal with.
You don't make it too easy.
No, that's right. Yeah, I said it needed to be easy.
If you're not familiar, Rusty Wallace, our colleague, designed this racetrack along with the architects and the owners who built it. Rusty wearing his dual roles today as team owner and racetrack designer, and will rejoin us on the broadcasts in coming weeks. Competition caution
is out. You know, and going back to Rusty Wallace, he was very involved in designing this racetrack. He was hands-on a lot of the times. I saw pictures where he was here when they were building it, so he did have a big hand in the design of this place.
You talk to the drivers, they really enjoy the challenge. You talk about a little like Richmond, but extremely fast. You have some of those characteristics, a little bit of loose end, but you have to make your car turn in the center to get a good drive off.
All right, talking about brakes and the 7-car getting back on the track. Josh Wise, Tim Brewer in our Craftsman Tech Garage before the pit stops has a little more. Tim?
Thanks, AB. The hydraulic brake system is used with fluid, and anytime you've got air in it, you have a soft, spongy pedal. So what they're doing when they're bleeding the brakes, they're putting additional fluid in the reservoirs and forcing it down through the calipers. These are the bleeder holes right here. You open them and you let the air out. But anytime you've got air in behind the piston right here, you're not going to have a firm pedal, and the car's not going to stop. AB?
Not good air in the brake system. Tim, thanks. Michael McDowell led 8 laps in his first 72 Nationwide Series races. He's already led more than that today as the second leader of the race, and he brings the field onto pit road for stops at the end of lap 52. Shannon?
It's going to be a track bar adjustment for Elliott Sadler, who said he needs more right rear grip. They are going to take 4 tires on that number 2 car. Dave?
Reed Sorensen started 5th. He's moved his way up to the 2nd position, top of your screen. They're going to make a track bar adjustment for a loose race car. Michael McDowell, the bottom, like in the middle of your screen right there. His car wants to be just a little bit better. They're going to make adjustments as well for him. Mike?
Drew Herring saying his car is very good early in the run, but as the run progresses, it gets a little bit loose off and tight in the center. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change, but problems getting off pit road. Very slow. A problem at the end of that pit stop for the 20 car.
Stall it, have it in the wrong gear.
Yeah, it looked like he might not just given it enough gas. With these tapered spacers, you really have to rev that engine up once they drop the jack.
So it will be Michael McDowell holding the lead off of pit lane. Elliott Sadler's crew, nice job. And you see Herring and Dillon sliding back a few spots. First caution is out. It's a competition caution here at Iowa Speedway. McDowell will lead him back to the restart. Racing in one more lap in the John Deere Dealers of Iowa 250. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. Michael McDowell, Reed Sorensen will share the front row. Elliott Sadler will be in the back row for this restart. Speeding, entering pit road, and it kind of, when you look at this, becomes pretty obvious.
Yeah, you can see Elliott right here comes in behind Brad Keselowski. He's going to jump out and actually pull up beside of him. And the problem is this continues right into his pit box, and he just didn't get slowed down enough.
Clear. 3, 2, 1.
Now, if you have that kind of a line in front of your pit, if your timing line is in front of your pit, you're okay doing that. But his timing line ended at the middle of his pit box, so his average speed was just too fast.
So Sadler goes from 7th at the caution to 23rd for this restart. McDowell on the 18 choosing the outside lane, and let's try it again. To be McDowell a little bobble in 1 and 2, and Reed Sorensen goes through to the lead in that yellow 32.
Yeah, I've never raced here, but was a little curious about about that choice, and especially seeing how the bottom, and that's where Michael McDowell ran the whole time on that first segment. So if he gets that opportunity again, I think we'll see a different choice. Reed Sorensen saying thank you very much, though.
Mistake one, okay. Mistake two, then it becomes.
Yes.
Look at this, 3 wide. Brian Scott in the 11. Kozlowski in the 22. That's Ryan Truex in the 99 on the outside.
These drivers were telling me they expected this racetrack to widen out. Hopefully it's wide enough for all of this. There's a lot of action happening.
Well, you see the sun is out now, so that's going to change the track conditions a little bit. Maybe it'll take the rubber a little better. Oh, see Ryan Truex getting way out of shape in the 99.
Settling down just a little bit. Truex losing some ground since the restart, Mike.
Yeah, they're not all that concerned about it, though, Alan. And that backs up what I spoke with Jerry Baxter about earlier this morning. I asked him point blank what's on his mind going into this race. A big smile came across his face, and he said, we're real confident. This is the best car we've had all season long. It's the best weekend we've had with Ryan Truex. And, of course, it comes at a pretty good time, too, for that kid. This is the 9th race in a 10-race contract for him. Beyond Chicago, he doesn't have anything else on his nationwide schedule unless sponsorship comes on board. So he's really trying to showcase his talents today. So far, a pretty good run for him, Alan.
Ryan, the younger brother of Sprint Cup star Martin Truex Jr. And he has slipped back a pretty good chunk since that restart. He restarted like 6th, and now he just lost a spot to the 30 car, Buescher, so that's going to put him back in 14th.
Yeah, it looked like he really was struggling getting back to the bottom of the racetrack. Looked like the car's pretty loose. There's not much rubber up on that high side right now.
On board with Justin Allgaier in the 31.
Justin did a nice job in that first segment, not having any laps on this car, but he worked his way into the top 20, now sits in the 15th spot. So that was a good first segment. Was able to work on his car, see if he's made it any better here.
Just see Ryan Truex really fighting that 99 car, really loose.
Jeez, what you doing to this thing? Can't even drive it. Get it back down in the groove there, brother. Get back to the bottom. See what we got.
Kind of confirming what you said a minute ago about not much rubber in that outside lane. And
I was going to ask Andy, you had never heard that before, and I know I've said that before. What'd you do to this thing?
yeah.
I've heard it plenty, but it's easier said than done getting to the bottom when you've got a lot of fast cars trying to pass you down there.
So Truex back in 14th spot, Allgaier 15th, Joe Nemechek right behind them in the 87 car in 16th position. Word is that there may be a nationwide series debut of former Formula One star Kimi Räikkönen in a Nemechek-owned 87 car. As of last reports, that is not confirmed yet. But that would be kind of exciting for next Saturday in Charlotte if it does
yes,
happen.
it would. He did a great job in the truck race on Friday night, so working his way right there. We'll welcome him, see what he can do next Saturday. Shannon?
Well, Alan, I did speak with the team this morning about that entry, and if Kimi is going to be in the car next week, what they did tell me was Joe Nemechek will be in the 97 next week at Charlotte. That's the plan. As far as who will be driving the 87, they're not confirming as of yet. They said they were going to have to wait till Monday or Tuesday. But of course, Joe being in the 97, all signs kind of pointing to that might happen.
That'll be fun if it happens, and give us something to look forward to besides the normal great racing you get in Charlotte next week.
Well, Carl Edwards having a problem here.
Yeah.
He got real loose in 3 and 4, and he's checking for a flat tire, looks like.
Yeah, I think he's doing that. Plus, he's having to scrub off that rubber. Will build up a little bit up on that high side. Get on your tires. Have to get that off of there immediately.
Carl back to 10th position. Lost some spots on that round of pit stops. Back at lap number 52.
Yeah, he's up where nobody's been so far today. That is where all the trash is, Dale, and I'm sure that's what he did, is he got a lot of trash on the tires. Dave, what's up with that 60?
Well, he restarted 9th, so he hasn't lost that much ground right now. The reason they lost all those spots on pit road, myriad adjustment. That means a lot. It was mainly that spring rubber out of the right rear that was the big deal for Carl. That took some time, plus wedge, plus track bar adjustments on the 60. Remember, they left it adjustable because Carl wasn't here, and now they're going through that transition of trying to get it right.
They better hope they have some more adjustment left, Dave, because I don't think this car's right yet.
And I appreciate you telling us what those big words you used, Dave. So I appreciate that a lot. But even if he would have been here yesterday, these guys are seeing a totally different racetrack than what they saw yesterday. Not nearly this much sun and heat in this track.
So Edwards again losing 5 spots on pit road, now running back in 10th position, and is about 6 1/3 seconds behind Reed Sorensen. Sorensen out in front as we work lap 70 of 250 here at Iowa Speedway.
He is really, really strong, has worked his way up and just has taken over this race. But Michael McDowell, Drew Herring, these two young men have done what they needed to do thus far, running up front. Michael McDowell has worked himself into having a fabulous race thus far, running second, Herring's running fourth. I like what they're doing.
Opportunity race for a lot of these guys. Let's get you caught up with what's going on throughout the field. Nationwide can get you up to speed. Dave Burns, what you got?
Hey, Nicole, we told you about that brake adjustment they made for Reed Sorensen yesterday. This morning I asked crew chief Trent Owens, did you make any last adjustments for Reed to race the car better today? Said, you know what? We gave him a little bit more can stand on the gas in the middle of the corner, and he's been standing on it so far today. Reed Sorensen, your leader. Second place, Michael McDowell lost that lead on the start. He also lost some practice time yesterday. Why? Well, because his crew was late to the technical inspection line with this race car. I asked crew chief Jason Ratcliffe about that. Jason said, you know what? We've got high expectations. Sometimes you got to seize the day. They didn't mind losing 15 minutes to make this car the best it could be. Running in third place right now, Austin Dillon in the 33. Austin has a Truck Series race here under his belt. In fact, that was a win. And asking him how he would drive this race today, he said the tires don't fall off much. It's just about hitting your line. In fact, you have to hit it perfectly here. If you charge in too hard, you make the center of the corner tough. If you back it off to go in, you make the exit of the corner bad. So you have to do it just perfectly. Mike?
Dave, Drew Herring started this race on the pole in just his 5th career Nationwide Series start. I spoke with him yesterday about the opportunity, and he said the pressure, it can eat you up if you let it. Consequently, you've got to wonder what was going through his mind after he stalled the car after his first pit stop. His team came over the radio immediately afterwards and calmed him down, said, hey, kid, you're doing fine. Keep it up. Throughout the course of this race, he's really leaned on his spotter, Mark Robertson, who happens to be the spotter on the Cup side of the operation with Joey Logano, who has been coaching Herring throughout the course of the day. Just behind him is Brad Keselowski up into the top 5. Sam Hornish set that car up. The concern coming into this race was how much would the balance change from Hornish's driving style to Keselowski's driving style. Well, they ironed this out well before getting here. In a recent test at Gresham Motorsports Park, both Hornish and Keselowski were there, and they took some time during that test to swap cars to get an idea of how the information would translate from driver to driver. It appears to be doing a great job this afternoon, Nicole.
You know, Nicole, also looking at Eric Almirola, I mean, he has done an outstanding job of getting that car up into position. Every week we hear about him and Pop Zuri talking about trying to get this car in position to win. He just doesn't want to run well. He wants to be in that top 5 all day long and have a chance at the end of the day to go to victory lane. He's doing a great job so far.
Don't forget about Justin Allgaier, up 31 spots. He's currently running in 12th. More from Iowa as we're working lap 83, 250 to go today from Iowa. More from Iowa Speedway after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Opened a few years ago, today hosting the NASCAR Nationwide Series for a 3rd time. Look at those grandstands. They are full. All the permanent seating for this race sold out. Sometimes the track adds temporaries on the end in some of its past years. First year with a couple of nationwide races, they went a little bit conservative on that, but could have sold more tickets, and it will in fact add some more temporaries for the second race that comes up here for the Nationwide Series on August 6th. Beautiful day, big turnout. Right now a big day for Reed Sorensen in that 32 car. He is out in front by almost 2 seconds since the restart.
You see a battle here between teammates, Ricky Stenhouse, Carl Others, but what I've really seen with Reed Sorensen, he's worked the traffic really, really well. Now this battle for 3rd heats up. Austin Dillon had been in the 3rd spot. And Drew Herring trying to take that away.
Wiggle wobble there.
Hey, watch Carl Edwards. He's moving all over this track trying to find something to make his car better, see if he can make speed. And I look at the monitor, and in some laps he's the fastest car on the track. Other laps he's not when he's searching for that line.
I've seen him actually move up the racetrack about a half a lane, 3/4 of a lane down in 1 and 2. They're going through middle of 3 and 4 here right now. Carl's moved up and made that work.
The last lap, he was the quickest car on the track, even with the pass.
Coming up on the 93 car, that is Amber Cope. Running back in 31st position. Again, Nationwide Series debut for her today. And we continue to watch Herring and Keselowski and Dillon here as they race for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. 33 car slipping back just a little bit, Dave.
Yeah, his car was loose on that first run, Alan, as he challenges Keselowski. Here's going to lose that spot, too. They made a track bar adjustment for him, but he just reported about 3 laps ago, still loose, in and off the corner, and that means that back end wants to swing around on him too much.
Not a good thing when those walls are so close by at such high speeds.
Yeah, that seems to be the tendency here as I talk to drivers, that that's what they thought was going to happen, and now that we have a lot of sun shining on this racetrack, I think that's what these drivers are going to fight. But you have to be careful, Andy, because you get it tightened up on the exit of the corner, and then you make that center too tight.
Well, that's the thing you're fighting. You want the car as fast as possible, and the way to do that is have it balanced perfectly, not pushing and not loose. But you know, if you get on the tight side, it can really kill the speed. Sometimes you can deal with a little bit looseness. The driver, it's a little harder for him, but it can be, you know, a little quicker than being too tight.
You know, Reed Sorensen, we just saw the numbers there on the laps that he's led all season, and today only 6 laps led in this entire season prior to today. All at Talladega, by the way. A little bit different style racing than most weeks on the series, so really, really solid day for that 32 so far. He did the tire test here back in April as driver, as crew chief. A tire test, advantage, no advantage, doesn't mean anything.
Oh, it's a big advantage, Alan. If you come to this track and be able to just put laps in, you're gathering data all the time that you're doing this, and then you get to run on the tire that you're probably going to race here. I think it's a huge advantage to be able to do that tire test.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, and it is from the driver's standpoint too. You come back knowing what your car is. You don't have to take that time and trying to get acclimated to the racetrack again. So yeah, it is a huge advantage when you get that opportunity to do that for Goodyear, and they try to spread that out with the teams to give them all opportunities to work on their cars at different places.
Talking about opportunity, one of the themes of our day, whether one of these Nationwide Series championship contenders can break through and stop the Cup onslaught of wins. It's been since March 20th of last season since a Nationwide regular won a race. That was Justin Allgaier at Bristol. It's been Cup guys every week ever since. Brad Keselowski's running 3rd. Reed Sorensen leads. Michael McDowell is 2nd. There's McDowell in the 18. There's Keselowski chipping away at it, little bits at a time. Got a win here at this racetrack in the past, does the driver, that 22. Under the green with Reed Sorensen leading here at the Iowa Speedway. Reminder on ABC Monday, it's the Dancing with the Stars finale. It begins when the final 3 face off for the last time. Kirstie Alley, Chelsea Kane, and Heinz Ward. Who's going to be crowned champion and take home the Mirror Ball Trophy? It's the Dancing with the Stars finale. It starts live Monday at 8, 7 Central on ABC. Trouble in turn 2. That is Ryan Truex.
He blew a right front tire. Pretty hard to lift.
Truex was running 17th at the time, 2nd caution of the race. We talked just a little while ago about how important this day was for them.
And it started off so well. He ran really good the first run. Something in that 2nd run his car didn't like, and he went back quite a bit. Now he's blown this tire and ruined his day.
I got you. Check him to the right side. Make sure make sure you got a broken rotor or something like that. You know what I mean? So.
See what we can see of it.
Yeah, so he's already hit the wall there, but you can tell by the angle that the tire was down when he went up there.
Yeah, I happened to be looking at it, and right in the middle of the corner, you could see the car just take off to the right. You have to wonder if something wasn't amiss on that restart, because it came out 5th and just continued to slip backwards. So
Yeah.
Don't know exactly what it could have been.
Okay, so on the last round of pit stops, Drew Herring in the 20 had a little trouble getting going off his stop. Reed Sorensen, 32, had a little hiccup on their left side change. Didn't lose any ground. See how things shake out this time as the leaders come to pit road for the second time in the race as they complete the 111th lap. All right, Dave, here they are.
Reed Sorensen will pit for Sunoco Fuel. A little bit tight off of the corner was the driver's complaint. They'll make an air pressure change for that. Meanwhile, second place, Michael McDowell. 3 rounds of wedge for that race car. Very, very loose right now for McDowell. Mike?
Brad Keselowski saying he is a little bit free in and off. Tight center, however, looking for a little bit more drive off. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and also a 4-tire change on this 22 car as they take on a full load of Sunoco race fuel. They're down and away.
Looks like everybody about holds serve. 88 car picking up a little bit of ground there. Almirola up 4 spots.
Elliott Sadler makes up 7.
Nice job by the Kevin Harvick Incorporated group. Sadler hadn't made a lot of progress up the green flag. Watch Ryan Truex back in the frame. No, that's not good.
Got a blown tire behind the wall, 99 behind us.
Every year in the Indy 500, there's one moment that you come away from that race talking about on Monday, the day after. See what this year's is when the 100th Indianapolis 500 unfolds 1 week from today. See Jason Leffler back on pit road again. Austin Dillon was just on pit road again as well. Shannon?
Well, for Jason Leffler, he came down pit road. His temperatures were a little high, so they went to pull some of that tape off the front grille and pulled too much. So he had to come back down so that they could adjust the tape on the front grille. But really been a handful for Jason Leffler, the handling of this race car. He had a lot of optimism coming to the race, but just not good.
Sorensen leads into the restart.
Eric Almirola up on that top side. He had a nice pit stop. He's been running well, too. To the second spot now.
See that upper groove starting to work. See Carl Edwards up there now. Almirola just shot up to the outside and took off down the back stretch.
Elliott Sadler's crew. Remember when we showed the race off pit road, picked him up a bunch of spots. Just joining us, Sadler had a speeding penalty on the first pit stop back at lap 52. Went from 7, oh, trouble, caution flag. One spun around on the back straightaway. 44 car, that's Angela Cope. And the third yellow is out. Doesn't look like she's gotten any damage from hitting anything.
She was 12 laps down. She's been in the pits quite a bit. What they're dealing with. But,
Good job there, Angela. Good job. You just got up a little high. Probably got in the marble.
All right, so I mentioned Austin Dillon on pit road a second time under that yellow. Dave, what's up?
Hey, guys. Just working down here. Alan, let me get a little bit of information. I'll come right back to you.
All right, we'll let you follow up in just a minute. Dillon, you see back in 20th place after the extra pit stop on the last caution. This caution brought out by a spin off of turn number 2, Angela Cope in the 44 car.
Yeah, that's just getting up out of the groove a little bit. No grip up there whatsoever, but does a nice job not to hit anything.
Safe. Sliding in safe. That's good. So Cope back around and going the right way, and we'll resume competition here in just a minute. Free pass on this caution is going to go to Luis Martinez Jr. in the 39 car. His second free pass on the day. He'll get back on the lead lap in 22nd position. Back for the restart after this message and a word from our ABC stations. On Deere dealers of Iowa 250. Make sure to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. Get ready to wrap up the third caution of the race and go back racing in one more lap. Follow-up stories from pit road. Mike Massaro.
a big crowd in the grandstand, but also there was a big crowd surrounding this tire recently. This is the right front tire of Ryan Truex that blew out. A lot of teams coming down here to find out what happened. Goodyear examined it. Their initial thought is it built up too much heat in the sidewall, and that's what led to this failure. However, they have not diagnosed it completely. They're sending down another engineer to make sure that's exactly what happened. They also looked at the tire codes. They are the right tire code, so that is not a concern. Dave?
And Mike, now we're ready to tell you about the 33 car. They had pitted once to make a right rear shock adjustment. There's Austin Dillon right there. Car very, very loose. And then the second time they came down, it was a little bit overheating, so they cleaned off the grill, Alan.
Dave, Mike, thank you. Green flag. Sorensen in the yellow car with Eric Almirola now outside of him in that 88 running second. Ooh, big stack up in the pack. Look at that. Everybody's going to get away with it.
Still side by side for the lead into 3.
Not everybody's going to get away with it. That's Jason Leffler in the 38 with some damage.
Almirola back to the inside. It actually looks like you can get away with the high side a little bit down in this part of the racetrack. That was spin off of 4 now.
That's Leffler has spun around. He's rolling. No caution yet. And it doesn't appear there will be. Leffler is clear. He's on pit road, and we stay out of the green. And the chase continues up front. Here comes Carl. I gave you the field, 41 guys over 2.
Yeah, and there's both of them right there battling for that third spot, making their way towards the front. That's why it was one of the All-Star race, and Brad Keselowski last night drove his way into the main race in the All-Star race by finishing second in that showdown. These guys are pretty good.
Yeah, you think they'll make it someday. All right, well, that race for third settles down. Here's the trouble for Jason Leffler.
Oh, wow. Looks like he got something wrong under the hood. I'm not sure what it is. Thought it was a tire rub initially, but looks like there's something going wrong. Came in and they put the hood, they had the hood up. You see, it loops it around.
Well, not the day that Leffler was hoping for. I talked to him this morning. He thought they had a good chance to win. And now the car is going back toward the garage area.
You have to wonder whenever they talked about making that other pit stop to get some tape off of it. They got too much, then they came back in to put some on, so maybe they got a little too much. It overheated.
Yeah, they could have overheated the car even before they got the tape off and lost some of the water, and that starts up a chain of events that's never good.
Second place, Keselowski up to the number 2 spot in that 22. Here's Edwards working Almirola for third. And through. Edwards rallying after falling back earlier in the race. His caution is out. Trouble in turn 2. That is Amber Cope, who has spun around.
Almost the same spot.
Yeah.
As her sister spun there earlier.
Fourth caution of the race out here. Not that long after the last one. A little strategy here, Andy. 119 last time they pitted. We're only at 128 and still got 122 laps to go.
Yeah, this is going to be one of those, might split the field up. Some might come, some may not. Looks like the pit road is still closed this time by, so we'll see that next time.
You can tell we can have a lot of green flag racing. You can see once again just up out of the groove.
And the result of, or the resulting action is the fourth caution of this race. Again, just past halfway. Sun is shining. It's beautiful. It's a little unusual because off in the distance we can see a storm cloud, but it's away from the racetrack and moving away. And we're enjoying the sunshine right now and don't expect there to be any weather problems between here and the finish. But boy, the radar and the weather forecasters have had their hands full figuring this one out today.
Yeah, that's the other thing. The crew chiefs will be looking at the weather, looking at the radar. And right now they can't make it from here on fuel. Tires hold up real well, so I expect the leaders will probably stay out. But you'll see some of the cars maybe come down mid-pack or maybe toward the back.
Not yet, not yet, not yet. There they are toward the back of the lead lap. So under caution here at Iowa Speedway, most of the leaders stay on the racetrack. We'll come back for the restart in a minute. Straight liners going racing a little bit later on today over on ESPN2. Right now, as we work the caution here at Iowa, let's talk to our in-race reporter, Kenny Wallace.
Hey, Kenny, DJ, you have a copy?
Hey, DJ, hey, do you want me to pit or not, guys? Yeah, come on, bring it to me. DJ, I got to pit, hold on.
Yeah, I think we'll let him do some business.
Leader for one, I go.
Spend no time, guys.
Got about 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 1, 2. Hook that hole up, the headlight, right side headlight hole. That's the port. All right, let's go. Let's go. Go, 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 go. All the way out. Watch your speed. Watch your speed heavy. Watch your speed heavy. You're all good.
Obviously, we weren't planning on Kenny making the extra pit stop there.
No, but you can see he's had some damage on the front end of his race car. Trying to get that repaired where he can make a run towards that top 10 in these last 118 laps.
Kenny on the lead lap in 21st position as we get ready for this restart.
It's like he got caught up in that stack up we saw earlier, right before the caution came out.
So it's Brad Keselowski in the 22 now to the outside of leader Reed Sorensen. Sorensen's been out in front of this thing since lap 57. About to complete lap 133. Can he continue to hold the top spot?
He's led 76 laps. The last time he led over 50 laps in a race, 3 times. He's won all 3 times.
Reed's car seems to be really good on these restarts. Once he can get single file, he actually puts a little distance, but he hadn't had Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards to deal with until this point.
Yeah, they're ganging up on him now. Looks like Keselowski's got the edge at the start-finish line.
There it is. 22 leading that lap. Side by side up front, and Carl trying to find a way through.
One thing I'm seeing, and I started to mention this a few laps back, is it looks like you can run in that second group through 1 and 2 and not lose any time, but 3 and 4 is a different story right here. Whoa, get these swords and get loose.
Keselowski go off that corner though.
Not for long. Here's Carl.
Yep.
Edwards leads that lap. And clears him.
Here comes the 22 back on the inside.
Can we make it 3 lead changes in 4 laps? I think so.
It looks like Keselowski can get to the throttle earlier. It looks like Carl uses a little later time when he gets on the gas, which makes it work down the straightaway.
You see Ricky Stenhouse there in the 6 car. He's got in the mix. He wants to lead some laps here today.
2 guys that have made the long commute from Charlotte, North Carolina, where they raced last night, to Newton, Iowa, where they're racing this afternoon. Back and forth at the front they go. That lap, it's Keselowski. Actually, that's 2 laps in a row he's managed to lead.
Yeah. You know, and I'll say one thing right here. These are 2 guys up front, and I know a lot of times people say, well, just let the nationwide guys go. But how about these guys just loving the race? They were racing for $1 million. One of them won $1 million last night, but they made the trip here to Iowa because they love to race these cars. Here comes Reed Sorensen. He wants to get back to the front.
By the way, didn't get done racing till after 11:30 last night East Coast time. Post-race interviews in Edwards' case for winning the race and so on. A few hours sleep, back in the race car.
Well, looks like he's still struggling with his race car a little bit. It was fast on that restart, and he's starting to slip back. Now you see Ricky Stenhouse take that 3rd spot away.
Brad Keselowski, the only former winner of a Nationwide Series race at Iowa, entered in today's race. Out in front, past halfway. Edwards now in the 60, has slid back. He's running in 4th. His teammate Stenhouse running in 3rd, Mike.
Ricky Stenhouse comes here with a sense of vindication, especially after what transpired here in Iowa last year. And that that race? Well, he wrecked 2 cars prior to the start of the race and actually damaged another car in the race. I spoke with him about that incident before the weekend began. He told me it was simply embarrassing. His crew chief, Mike Kelly, said at that moment, though, it was a turning point because that's when he realized that Jack Roush and this entire team completely believe in him. He comes into this race looking to put that behind him. A victory today would be absolutely gigantic for the 16, Dave.
And Mike, on that 60 car, they made myriad adjustments again on it the last time they were down. I know you'd appreciate that. Last time they were on pit road, and it is better, a little tighter on the gas, much better, but chattering left rear tire now and a little loose off. He just radioed that in last lap, guys.
Dave Webster Burns reporting from pit road. Thank you, Dave. He got married in twice today. Twice. A little farther back, got the front 4 we just talked about. That 2 car right there, Elliott Sadler. What a comeback for him.
Well, I think that's why he's the points leader, and I spoke in the countdown show that I think experience is why Elliott has got himself in the lead in the points, and that will continue to be a factor as he races for this championship.
Yeah, that and a good pit crew. They gained a lot of spots on pit road today.
Elliott got a speeding penalty on the first pit stop back at lap 52. It dropped him from 7th to 23rd. Did you know that Elliott finished 6th after getting a pit road speeding penalty in Dover last week?
He's shooting a little higher than that today.
Rallies. Of course, at some point, team owner Kevin and Delana Harvick are probably sitting there saying, I wonder what we could do if we didn't get a pit road speeding penalty.
Yeah, and they're working hard on their on-track performance part here, and you can see he's running there solidly in 5th, but Shannon, they're working on this car still?
For Elliott Sadler, yeah, they've really been working on it, but the story of the day, as Alan said, has been all about track position for Elliott Sadler. He came over the radio after that speeding penalty, told his guys, hey, don't worry, we've got plenty of time, we'll get back out there, and that's exactly what he's been doing. Guys, it's been very busy over the radio as spotter Chris Rice has been talking him through the field. Those pit guys went to work and got him back up front.
So Sadler running in 5th position with help from the guys on pit road on his last pit stop a little while ago. Watching that race for 2nd. Stenhouse moving up, starting to put a little pressure on Sorensen. Sorensen in 32. Remember, Reed was out in front of this race for 77 laps, a big chunk of this race's first half.
And talk about how bad that first half of that last year was. The year since then has been that good because this young man has shown his talents on every type of racetrack that we go to.
2 double-duty guys in the field. One of them's leading the race. Brad Keselowski out in front. Still got 103 laps to go here in Iowa. Back live, Iowa Speedway. On board with Josh Wise. Had a problem with brakes earlier in the race. He's 25 laps down in 32nd position. Not where he expected to spend his afternoon here at the beautiful Iowa Speedway. We're inside of 100 laps to go, and this is the race for the lead. Brad Keselowski has been caught by Ricky Stenhouse. Stenhouse in the 6th, going to look low, see if he can get to that #1 spot.
And this is the type of race I've been looking to see from Ricky Stenhouse. You know, we've seen all year and back to last year where he's had a lot of speed, but wasn't able to capitalize and transfer that into battling for the lead later in races. So really good to see this happening here today. He looks like to have by far the fastest race car right now.
Stenhouse, of course, the Mississippi native, racing to raise money a week ago for those affected by the flooding and the storm damage in his home state. Now racing to try and get a breakthrough victory for himself in this nationwide series. Been in the top 5 in the championship all season. His best finishes of the year so far, a pair of 4th place efforts, including last Saturday on the Monster Mile in Dover. He's a good kid. For people that don't know Ricky, he's pretty quiet, soft-spoken, got a good sense of humor, and just really, I guess the best word I could use to describe him is genuine.
Yeah, he is, Alan. He's a genuine guy. But one thing that impresses me is his confidence in himself. He could have got, he took a little bit of a rough patch last year, but it didn't affect his confidence. He's out here this year with a lot of it, and he can, I think he is going to get that win soon. It might come today.
Here's 3rd place. Edwards in the white 60. Tried to take it away from Sorensen. In the 32, Elliott Sadler kind of joining the party here.
There's so much room to race here. I'm looking at the lap times, and they're all very, very close. And as a matter of fact, all these top 10 cars are relatively close to each other. I mean, they're not really driving away. You see Brad Keselowski and Stenhouse have a little lead, and then you got this group.
Yeah, it looked like Reed Sorensen early on was just going to kind of run away from the group, and they made a slight adjustment on his race car. He'd been talking about being a little tight off. Looks like maybe now they've got him a little bit loose. Edwards able to take that third spot away now.
Sorry for the gasp there. I thought Carl was coming across the front there, and we were going to have us a big old pileup right there. 32 car, Dave, what are they saying?
DJ's right. Looser in was the report from the driver just about 3 laps ago. He has no front or rear grip now. That's a common complaint, but I think it's a looser in that's hurting him the most.
Yeah, I don't know if that's exactly what you were going to report, Dave, but I appreciate you making me sound like I knew what I'm talking about occasionally, so that's good. But yeah, you just see, and it doesn't take much on this racetrack right now, as slick as it is, to make a big difference, and a lot of that is because of the speeds that they run here, with it being 7/8 of a mile.
Yeah, one thing that'll make you looser in, too, is having somebody chewing on that rear bumper.
Yeah. As Sorensen tries to hang on to the 4th spot, Elliott Sadler challenges him. We listen to the 32 radio.
Just take what it's giving you. Fudge is a bad set of tires. Don't flip out on us.
Trent Owens, the crew chief, trying to be the sports psychologist there.
Yeah, you get a little animated as a driver at times in there. You think you've got a perfect race car, and you make a very slight adjustment on it and put 4 tires on it, and it just doesn't react like you expect it to. But as you said, you got to stay calm. There's going to be another pit stop. Hopefully that'll work to their advantage.
Talk about this racetrack being technically less than a mile, a short track as NASCAR classifies them, but yet being fast enough. 2 cars race side by side, aerodynamics come into play, and the 3rd car from behind joins the party. We saw it a while ago when Sadler caught Sorensen as he raced side by side with Edwards, and now we see Michael McDowell in the 18 come back into the picture as those 2 in front of him race side by side.
Yeah, it looks like Reed Sorensen's trying to do a little too much with this car right now. It's just not what it was earlier, and he's just going to have to like chill out.
Ridiculous.
He's got to chill out here and wait till they can adjust it and make another run at it.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating, but as you said, he is racing for a championship, and he needs to calm down a little bit in this situation and realize that we can go back and make another adjustment, but don't do something that you're going to really regret and put you further behind in this battle for the championship.
Talk about another pit stop, but we are getting to the point in the race where we're going to be able to make the finish on 1 tank of fuel, and so this next pit stop could be the last adjustment these guys are going to get to make on their cars, and track position being what it is. Speaking of track position, who's going to have the best track position here? That's for the lead. And Stenhouse is going to get through and grab the #1 spot.
Well, he was very patient making this pass, Alan. He stayed right behind Keselowski, didn't push the issue for many, many laps, and then I think he saw his opening and just kind of made the pass pretty easily.
Yeah, he sure had. But this 60 car is really coming fast as these guys have slowed down just a little bit up front. Now we'll see what Ricky Stenhouse can do as he's gotten out front now. But Carl Edwards is on the move.
So just to pay off that conversation I started a second ago, Andy, 1 more shot at adjusting the car, and you're going to have to make it the right one and not give up track position.
Yeah, you really are just going to get 1 more shot because the tire holds up good. As soon as they get inside that window, which they're there now, they're inside their pit window of making it to the finish. So if a caution comes out, they will make that pit stop, but they can go about probably 30 more laps before they need to think about doing that under green.
And it probably will just be 1 more because the tires are holding up really well. Track position, we heard Carl Edwards talk earlier about it's a difficult place to pass some, so all of those things are going to play into probably just 1 more time on pit road. And Alan, you're exactly right about making that adjustment. I would have to say at that point in time, you don't swing too big at it.
So it is now Stenhouse Jr. leading, Edwards second, Keselowski shuffled back to 3rd, with Elliott Sadler 4th and Reed Sorensen in the #5 spot. 83 laps to go, that critical final pit stop still to go. We're back to Iowa in just a minute.
170 laps complete here at Iowa. That, though, is this morning. Carl Edwards, fresh off of winning the $1 million in last night's All-Star race in Charlotte, arriving around 10:30 this morning. Brad Keselowski got here just a little bit earlier, around 9:50. As we started the race, Justin Allgaier started at the back of the field, had a practice crash. Right now, he is running in 12th spot. That is 31 positions gained. Back to the front of the pack, though, on lap 136, that's Brad Keselowski taking the lead from Carl Edwards. But just a few minutes to go on lap 166, we talk about opportunity in this race, and that is what's happening. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. just took the lead.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has had a great season thus far. He's done a good job. Dale Jarrett pointed out he's really patient, took his time to make that pass on Brad Keselowski earlier, and is doing a super job staying out front. This could be the guy who gets that first-time win that we've been talking about.
That's the 5-hour energy rapid recap. One of the drivers who's had a little bit of issue today, Jason Leffler, that 38 car a little bit earlier in the race, spun in turn 4. He's been in the garage for a little bit now. Shannon, what's going on?
A little bit of problems is an understatement, Nicole. Take a look at that. That is a radiator hose on the left that blew off of Jason Leffler's car. On the right is what it's supposed to look like. His temperatures were right at about 300. He blew that and the water pump off. They've replaced the water pump. They've replaced the radiator. During that spin, he also blew off a brake duct hose. So it is a complete mess down here. These guys have been working feverishly to try to get this championship contender back onto the racetrack. For more on all of this, what's going on down here in the 38 garage, let's go over to Tim Brewer at the Craftsman Tech Garage. Tim,
thanks.
Can you explain this stuff?
It's going to be a tough one, but we run a lot of pressure on the radiator system because we want to run a lot of water temperature, and enabling us to put tape on the grill lets us run a lot of pressure. But these are sealed systems. We actually charge them with a nitrogen bottle. But we've got the Kevlar line right here, and it's really light. It'll maintain a lot of pressure. But some of the guys, they use stainless steel hose, and it'll maintain a lot of pressure. But still yet, how it blew all that stuff off, never seen that before.
Yeah, well, hang around long enough, right, Brew? You'll see something you never have just about every time. Ricky Stenhouse just saw his teammate go by him and take the lead. Carl Edwards back on point.
It's taken a while, but the cream seems to have risen to the top here.
Yeah, and he looked like, after that restart, he was really sliding back after about 3 laps, and he got back there, and I don't know if he changed his line some as we see him a little bit higher down in 1 and 2. Bump doesn't seem to be quite as bad in that second groove, but he's really come to the front.
Now, Stenhouse might be learning something from his line right now.
Jack Roush here looking on today as well as Stenhouse tries to come back. David?
What a great race, Alan. There goes Ricky to the inside, trying to take it back from Carl, and he's going to do it going down into turn 1. The point I was going to make was regarding the way these cars change over the course of a run, DJ. They aren't always at their best. Sometimes they come to a driver, and it seems like Carl's was doing that. Michael McDowell was terrible on the restart. Then he was fast. And as Carl looks back to the inside, can you tell us, why that is mechanically these things change?
Yeah, I wish I could tell you all of that. I might still be going at it, Dave, but they do change, and they go through as the air pressures build up in the tires. The cars start doing different things. We're getting more rubber down on the racetrack. The temperatures are going up on the track. So there's a lot of variables that change. And Andy, as you keep going, the shocks change a little bit. The springs all change. So there's a lot of things that can happen.
It's a relative thing, too. I mean, it's other cars around you, how your car is performing against them. And all these cars are different. They have little different setups. And it depends on how they use each corner of the car, each tire on the car. And if you don't abuse one particular tire, your car will come to you later in the run.
So what you're both seeing is there's a myriad of reasons.
Yeah, okay, there we go again.
Good race for 10th spot here. Stephen Wallace in the 66, Michael Annett in the 62, and we documented the story of Justin Allgaier in that 31. This is a big race for that 62. Michael Annett is an Iowa native, and this is a place he just really wants to score at. While we watch that on the right side of the screen, there's the race for the lead around lap traffic.
Oh, no. Oh, that's not good.
All clear. Good job.
That was risky.
Clear by 3.
And Carl Edwards back out in front.
Another 3-wide battle.
Oh, team cars.
Careful. These two are racing for a top 10 spot. Stephen Wallace has that 10th spot right now. Like Annett wants it.
Our crew chief change on that 62 car here this weekend. Larry Carter is calling the shots for the 62. Rusty Wallace telling us there will be a new crew chief in place for that team of the permanent variety starting next weekend down in Charlotte. Talking about Michael Annett, best finish this season, 13th place. They need to get it going, and no better place than here at his hometown track.
Yeah, I talked to Rusty earlier this week, and he said that they just haven't been able to get the combination right with the 62, and so he felt like he needed to make that change now and try to get this thing turned around. Looks like it's going pretty good today.
Yeah, changing over to these newer cars full time this year can create a lot of problems for teams, and certainly when you don't have a Cup affiliation, the process may take a little bit longer, and I think that's some of what Rusty and them are seeing. They're trying to get their bodies a little bit better, doing everything that they possibly can to get Stephen Wallace and Michael Annett the very best cars they can each and every week.
And recapping the story of that 31 car, Allgaier set the fast lap in practice yesterday and then crashed on the next lap. Had to bring out the backup car, never got any practice on it. Started at the back of the field and has chipped his way back toward the top 10. He's running in 12th right now.
Yeah, in a situation like that where you come out here, you have no laps, you want to try to make sure as he battles for a championship, make sure that you minimize the damage in that situation. And Justin Allgaier's done a nice job today doing exactly that. He's going to battle here and get himself up into the top 10.
64 laps to go. Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. are the leaders. Final pit stops coming up. We're back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. 300 coverage beginning Saturday at 2 Eastern Time. Kyle Busch back in the field. Can anybody stop him on the sports hometown track? That is next Saturday, the Top Gear 300 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series, 2 Eastern, here on ABC.
Well, that racetrack takes on a whole different character in the middle of the afternoon. Sun shining down on it, so it should be a fun race to watch. This one is.
Bring back that old nickname, the Beast of the Southeast, for the daytime race. Race for the lead in lap traffic. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the 6. Carl Edwards in the 60. Stenhouse just sliding by Carl Edwards a second ago to take the top spot. Back. They've swapped the lead back and forth pretty good bit in this one.
I think Stenhouse gets out front. His car gets a little loose, and then he loses the lead. Yeah. And then once Carl gets in front, I think it tightens his car back up. He's able to go back to the lead. See if he can hold it a while here.
Oh, he's sliding it off of 2 right there.
And here goes Carl.
Just takes that little bit. I think you'd seen Carl use that upper groove a little bit, but you can see as he jumped back to the throttle, he just lost a little bit of traction on the exit. Still battling, though.
Still got the lead, too. Stenhouse by a bumper. If Carl gets back by him, this will be the 6th time these two have swapped the lead between them in this stretch of the race.
See, now early in the race, that just wasn't possible to hold on that well up on the high side. You see Stenhouse pulling by a car length there by being able to go through 3 and 4 on that high side and carry a lot of momentum.
You know, I got thinking earlier this week, with this being such a big opportunity race for guys to possibly get their first win. Guys like Carl Edwards, we've seen move through the Nationwide Series to the Cup Series. How long did it take him to get their first win in the Nationwide Series? 7 for Carl, 18 for Kyle, up to Brad Keselowski, 49. Stenhouse is kind of right in that range.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he keeps putting himself in that position. It's going to happen. And, you know, even though there's only 2 Cup guys here today, if this race could play out like this, to outrun Carl Edwards, who just outran the best in the business last night in Charlotte in the Cup Series, it's going to mean a lot to this young man.
Yeah, it'll add a lot of credibility to a win if he could get it today, that Carl Edwards is behind him. Mike, you got more on Stenhouse?
Yeah, he's running extremely well, but you wouldn't know it by the conversations he's had over the radio with his crew chief, Mike Kelly. The car, not exactly perfect. Throughout the course of the day, he's been complaining a little bit about the brakes, saying they don't feel right. At one point mid-race, they actually did some work to the brake ducting, pulled some tape. That fixed it for the time being, but that problem has reemerged. He still senses it every once in a while, and on top of that, he says it's running a little bit hot. So not a perfect race car, but he's making the most of it for sure.
Well, Mike, they're never perfect. You got to keep working on them all the time. You notice that every time they make a pit stop, they're making changes. So they just got to make it the best they can, and it's up to the driver to make up the rest of it.
Edwards back out in front. We've got 16 cars on the lead lap. Now 15 as Mike Wallace in the 0-1 is put a lap down by the leader, Edwards. We're coming up on pit stops. Leaders last stopped at lap 111 under the yellow flag. Yes, we've had 2 more cautions since then. 13 laps of yellow total. But we're going to begin to see some of these front runners on pit road. And as I say that, here's the first of the lead lap cars to come in here. And this is going to be with 48 laps to go.
Boy, almost an accident there on pit road.
All right, Dave.
Hey, guys, and he gives up 11th position to go for that pit stop, albeit slowly getting in. He said about his race car, it's the best it's taken off all season, so he really didn't want too many changes. Balance pretty good for Michael Annett, running in the 11th position before this round of green flag stop started.
That little hiccup's going to cost him a lot of time on the track, though.
Might keep him from being on the lead lap when this all cycles back around.
You see right here, he thought that he had time to get in there. The 44 car, though, is exiting her pit. You're right, Andy, that would be a lot of distance on the racetrack when he gets back.
It hurt the pit stop as well. You know, you see that it really messes the crew up to get to the car, and not to mention all the time it took to get in the stall.
See Edwards and Stenhouse. They've put a pretty big gap on Brad Keselowski, who has fallen 4 seconds back in 3rd place. So if this thing runs green all the way through, that's a nice help too heading on to this round of pit stops. And what's the biggest thing if you're a crew chief, you're telling your driver about this pit stop, Andy? Don't get a speeding penalty. Shannon?
A solid top 10 run for Stephen Wallace, who just gave up 10th to come down pit road. They're going to make a 4-tire change for Wallace, who says he's been looking forward to this race all season long, guys. Of course, his dad built the track and has been talking to him over the radio. Dave?
Shannon, he avoids the 66 leaving. That is Michael McDowell coming in. Very, very hot right now. He thought he was losing power. In fact, they're going to clean that front end very well. In fact, blow it out with an pressurized air to try to clean that all out. 4-tire change for him. Not bad balance, but just felt like he was losing power. Lost 1 position since that last run began. The 32 of Reed Sorensen in as well. Remember, his car, he was reporting looser in and no front or rear grip on that car. So trying to get the guy who led over 70 laps in this race earlier back on track where they should be. Austin Dillon got lost in the back of the pack after making all those adjustments, and that 33 car has not gained very many positions. In fact, only 3 since that last restart. They'll make big changes for Dillon on this pit stop as well.
James Busher on pit road. Austin Dillon headed back out.
Coming to you this time.
There's Busher in for his stop, Dave.
And James Busher is in. 1.5. And actually, I'm looking at the wrong car there, guys. Not bad, but he said he wanted to cut the center of the corner just a little bit better. So an air pressure adjustment, Shannon.
Well, Dave, cleaning the grill is another request from Elliott Sadler. There's a lot of junk built up right there. 4 tires for the man who came in as your points leader. He's been battling some tight conditions, but they said to go ahead and leave it alone.
And the leaders come in. Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse. 1 and 2 follow each other down pit road. Keselowski comes in as well. Stops with 41 laps to go, Dave.
Battled on the racetrack, now battling on pit road. He will get a track bar adjustment. Will Carl Edwards still loose? If he says the car is a little bit tighter up off the corner, it'll go faster. So they're going to fuel him up with Sunoco fuel, change 4 tires, and try to beat his teammate, Mike.
Big stop for Ricky Stenhouse. You can see how hot this car is running. Steam coming from the overflow. The stop is completed on the right side. The team swings around to the left side as they complete their 4-tire stop on the 6 car. Brad Keselowski off of pit road as well. They'll try to help him. He was tight in 3 and 4, needed a little help turning in the front end. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and a 4-tire change there as well. Drew Herring, still in the back of his mind, was a flub on the first pit stop of the day. Did not get the RPMs up high enough and stalled exiting pit road. He's apologized for that several times throughout the course of the afternoon. We'll pay attention to see how clean it is as he gets off pit road this time around. The team completes their stop. They drop the jack in problems once again for Drew Herring. Slow again, didn't have the RPMs up high enough for the 2nd time today.
Well, that'll hurt.
He had driven his way up into the top 5. I think it was 4th when this round of pit stop started.
Leader on the track is Justin Allgaier. Allgaier pitted.
No, we got to be in about 15 laps here. We're just going to try to catch you. I'm up 24, 60.
Allgaier pitted under each of the 2 cautions where the leaders stayed out, so he can run more. That was Jimmy Elledge, the crew chief, you heard.
Yeah, they might as well take advantage of this. But like you said, the tires are not falling off that much in speed, so they can afford to stay out here and run this car until it needs fuel.
So Allgaier, Kenny Wallace, Mike Wallace, and Jeremy Clements have not stopped yet. Then you will get back to Carl Edwards, who right now shows 5th, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who shows 6th. And they're the only cars on the lead lap. There's Brad Keselowski behind leader Allgaier, shown as the first car 1 lap down at the moment. Now, on the exchange of pit stops, watch the gap between the 60 now and the 6 on the racetrack.
Yeah, it's about 2 seconds. So Carl Edwards and his crew doing a great job. You can see they took a little extra time. With Ricky Stenhouse had a little bit of trouble. Plus, they were trying to get a little bit of more of the debris on the grill off of there and maybe a piece of tape.
Well, they needed to. You can see the steam coming out of that car, and that worries me. To see that much of that steam coming out. All these cars today seem to be running hot. I don't know, really what's causing that. It's just one of those days where maybe they misjudged the amount of tape that they put on the grills, but a lot of cars hot.
So that will be the lead if we stay green and the rest of the stops cycled through. For now, though, there is your leader, Justin Allgaier, in the 31 in his backup car, hanging on, hoping he can catch a break with a caution flag in these final 35 laps.
What's the back of the 11 as they stack it up?
I don't think that Brian Scott had any idea that Ricky Stenhouse was coming that quickly.
Well, he didn't really have
down
a
to
choice.
avoid. Yeah,
he had to get around that 93. It just that car was so slow. He had to make an evasive move. That put him right on the front bumper of Stenhouse. This is 3 wrecks in a row for this 11 team, though. Darlington, when it started, they wrecked there. They wrecked at Dover. Now they've torn up another car. It's not going well for Brian Scott.
So Scott tries to avoid the car of Amber Cope in turn 1 and moves down into the path of an oncoming Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And NASCAR officials have sent the 93 car to the garage for the balance of the race. In the meantime, Justin Allgaier is going to get a chance to make this pit stop under the caution flag.
He put himself in a great spot. He had all of those cars lapped down. There's only 6 cars on the lead lap, so and they're not going to be a wave around or anything here because these guys have already pitted. I don't believe, Andy, they're going to make another pit stop. I think they're out there to stay. And so the gamble that Jimmy Ellis and that crew did is going to pay big dividends here.
Yeah, it is. It's going to get them past a lot of good cars they were racing. And it's only showing right now 6 cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, caution coming out where it did. Brad Keselowski had just gotten himself in front of Allgaier, so that put him on the lead lap. Eric Almirola is going to get the free pass under this caution. And Allgaier is going to restart no worse than 6th.
Yeah, we're going to get some wave rounds. Looks like Almirola will get one of those. He'll be either the lucky dog or the wave around, and there may be one more, a couple more that'll get it.
Yeah, not going to be wavering because, well, yeah, I see what you're saying because of where those guys are.
Kenny Wallace on pit road, one of the guys that had not pitted yet. Jeremy Clements had not pitted yet. We mentioned Allgaier. Mike?
Justin Allgaier saying he's a little bit tight through the corner. His crew chief Jimmy Elledge asked him before this pit stop, which would you prefer, a little wedge or a little track bar? Which has the biggest effect on the race car? Allgaier said take a little bit of wedge out. That's what they did. Also a 4-tire change on the 31.
That's in position to get back on the lead lap. Strategy working to their favor. He's now running up inside the top 6 positions with a chance at a great finish. NASCAR repositioning some cars for the restart before they let them go. So now you've got Brad Keselowski back there in that 22 car. He pitted under this yellow. Fresher tires than the guys in front of him. But with a few cars to get through to get back to racing with Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse.
Yeah, a lot of things that could happen here in the next 23 laps. Let's see how it works.
Here we go. Edwards clears Stenhouse, gets the lead. Allgaier slides in third. That's Keselowski sliding up behind him in fourth. 17 cars on the lead lap and 21 laps to go. This is third place. Keselowski is through.
Stenhouse gets against the wall on the front straightaway. He has really been flirting with that all race long. He's been using the whole racetrack coming off the 4, and he gets against the wall there.
32 Sorensen, remember, led a lot of this race in the middle stages. 77 laps of this race, that 32 led. Then the handling went away, and he really slipped back in that long run.
Looks like that they've gone back to this set of tires, an adjustment they made. Oh, well, it's Sadler. Eric Almirola have a little contact there off of 4.
19 car, Mike Bliss, lurking.
Yeah, another solid run for Mike Bliss. You know, he had a great run going last week at Dover and got caught up in that last lap incident.
Whoa, Almirola right up in front of Michael McDowell in the 18. And for the lead.
That's exactly what we've seen on these restarts. Carl Edwards' car in the 60, really good for about 3 or 4 laps, and then it falls off, and it takes it about 15 or 18 laps to come back. He only has 18 laps to get back to Ricky Stenhouse here. Of course, he's not far away.
The last driver to get his first win in a Roush car was David Reagan in this 6 car. Guess who his crew chief was?
Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly.
Yeah. Of course, we saw Carl and Ricky, these two drivers in 60 and 6, trade the lead back and forth 6 times between them in a green flag stretch of the race. Allgaier falling back a little bit in that 31. Kenny Wallace there in the 09. And Sorensen trying to move through.
Yeah, Sorensen looked like he's really got his car back to handling like he wants it. He's going to need a late race caution here to get himself back up in the mix for the win, but he is moving forward.
Well, we're there. It's 16 laps to go, so it's time to make his move.
So he had Sadler in the 2 trying to move through. And does. While we watch this racing for position, they have black flag Brian Scott after that crash, repaired, back on the track. NASCAR wants some more things fixed up on that 11 car. He is going to head back to pit road. 32 Sorensen up to 4th. If not for that one stretch of race, Dave.
Yeah, Alan, and remember he was kind of screaming on the radio during that time. At least during this last run, he radioed to his crew, not as bad. Now that means that he's still not completely happy with it, but at least now, riding in the 4th position, he's able to see the front runners.
The fastest car on the track that last lap.
Needs a caution though, Andy, right?
Yep, he's got to have a caution to be able to do anything.
See how far he is behind the front 3 as a result of that side-by-side racing. Look at that gap. He's got a long way to go.
And it is a front 3 because Brad Keselowski is kind of chopping away at this lead that Ricky Stenhouse has too.
That's exactly what Stenhouse needs. He needs Brad Keselowski chewing on Carl Edwards' rear bumper while he can drive away.
Scott Zipadelli making a call to position Kenny Wallace up front. And the way the yellow flags fell worked out. The 09 car having a solid effort.
Yeah, the same car he ran at Richmond and ran really good. I talked to him at Dover. He was so excited to come here.
500th start in the Nationwide Series for Kenny Wallace. Nice pre-race presentation if you weren't with us for that. NASCAR President Mike Helton making a nice presentation to Kenny Wallace commemorating his 500th start. 8th, 9th, and 10th here. Steve Wallace, 66. Austin Dillon, 33. Maybe we'll theme this one members of famous racing families. Jeremy Clements there, 51 as well.
Drew Herring trying to make his way back forward.
And his dad, Tony Clements, builds the engines, basically runs the team.
And members of the Pearson clan working on that car as well. Of course, David Pearson, one of the 5 inductees into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Ceremonies to be held in Charlotte, North Carolina tomorrow. Not missing anything up front. Still a few car lengths between each of the top 3. Some of the action back in the pack we're looking at. It's Michael Annett, home state Iowa driver, trying to work his way back through. Annett running right now in 14th place. And behind him, side by side also. How about Scott Wimmer in that 70 car? Scott aboard that machine this week here in Iowa. Got some damage on the right front, you see, but lead lap.
Well, a really good job. See Brad Keselowski now trying to get that second spot from Carl Edwards.
So 8 laps to go, and this is exactly what Stenhouse wants to see in his mirror, is these two guys trying to race each other.
Overtaking the Brian Scott machine, who gives way to the faster cars.
He wants to see it from a distance, though. They're still a little bit too close.
7 laps to go. Will it be a first-time Nationwide Series winner? Or will the 2 Cup guys find a way to get out front and take home the trophy from this Opportunity Day at Iowa Speedway?
Well, Dale, what do you think? It's 7 laps to go. You've never won one of these things. You've got 2 of the best behind you. What are you thinking right here?
Yeah, you're trying not to pay attention to what's going on behind you. You need to just be looking out the front. Let those 2 guys settle that. Hit your marks, and you have a fast enough race car. They shouldn't get to you and be of concern. No. That's easy to say, hard to do. Yeah.
As you saw in that the last shot, some clear racetrack ahead for these front runners. May get into some of the tail end of the field before the checkered flag, but for now, clear racetrack.
But I do see Carl Edwards' car right now starting to come to life a little bit more. He was
Fastest car of that lap.
5 laps to go. Carl Edwards made the effort to come all the way here to Iowa on Saturday. Spent 45 minutes behind the wheel of his car practicing before scrambling to the airport, flying back to Charlotte. Brad Keselowski had Sam Hornich Jr. do all the practice in his car. They've come through and established themselves as 2 of the 3 drivers racing for the win today.
I'm not sure if it's those 2 cars or that 4-turn wall that's more of a hazard for Ricky Stenhouse. And I watch him every time come off of that corner.
Look at him again, right there. Again, those black marks, I think all of those are his.
3 to go for Stenhouse. Last year's Rookie of the Year in the Nationwide Series. As we dip back, look at the race for 9th place. In some traffic, James Buescher in the 30, Austin Dillon in the 33, all over him. Wallace, Bliss, Herring.
We talked about Austin Dillon in this 33 car maybe being one to battle for the victory today, but they had made 2 pit stops under a caution back about midway of the race and just never recovered from that, but still a good solid effort by this young man.
Coming to the white flag. Lap traffic ahead. Carl Edwards behind. For 23-year-old Ricky Stenhouse Jr. 1 lap away from his first NASCAR Nationwide Series win. Can he come back around in front?
I think he's got him.
After almost losing his ride, being sat down just over a year ago, the promise fulfilled today at Iowa, and the first Nationwide Series driver to win a race since March of 2010, Mississippi's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is a winner. Great fight to the finish for that 9th spot.
Look at Carl Edwards congratulating his teammate. Yeah. Great win for Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yeah, and that's the way to do it. You beat the best right there. Yeah, I know there were only 2 of them here, but he beat both of them in 2nd and 3rd. Speaking of the Cup drivers, so Ricky Stenhouse will remember this race as being his first win, and even more so because he was able to beat Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski.
A little friendly bump from Allgaier. Congratulations. Andy asked you what it was like when you were trying to get the first win. What's this moment like right now?
Well, it's you can breathe again now. You were talking about how cool and calm you needed to try to stay, but your heart was pounding. So this is really a feeling of accomplishment, all that you've gone through, and very deserving, this young man.
Came to the Nationwide Series a year ago, had such a difficult start. To the point, as I alluded to a minute ago, where Jack Roush sat him out for a race. Just let him gather his head back up. But while he was sitting him out, also sat him down and said, I believe in you. The second half of last year, particularly after the debut race for this next generation Nationwide car at Daytona, where Stenhouse came through with a spectacular run It was like a light switch came on. And we've been waiting for this moment ever since. And now today, here at Iowa, it is 51st try. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to go to victory lane for the first time in the Nationwide Series. All I can think of is how cool is that?
Yeah.
Jack Roush here today. Wonder what he's going to tell his young driver in victory lane. Very nice. So a 1-2 finish for Roush Fenway, and the winning crew chief, and he called his name out a few minutes ago, Mike Kelly, is with Dave Burns.
And you know, a couple weeks ago, talking with Mike Kelly, he said you would never have thought this, but our little racer has turned into a leader on this team. What do you think of your leader today, Mike?
Man, I can't say enough for this kid. What we've gone through as a team in the last year, Iowa last year was incredible. And I can't thank Blackwell Angus. I can't thank Ford. Ford's done a lot for us in this nationwide program. Robbie Reiser, all the guys at the shop. It's been a long time coming. We've been close a lot of times and shot ourselves in the foot a couple times this year, and just really capitalized on it today. Making no mistakes. Ricky doing his job, us doing our job, and it's been a long ride, and it's a great one.
All right, Mike, go celebrate. He referred to Iowa. Remember last year, Ricky practice crashed. He crashed in qualifying. A third car was rolled out for him. It was a long day, but today much, much better. Shannon Spake?
Well, Carl Edwards just ran out to congratulate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. What a weekend it's been for you. You win the All-Star race. You've got your teammate in front of you, one of your biggest competitors behind you. How was your race today?
And you asked me, could I have caught him? Are you kidding me? That's as hard as I can drive. I asked for the wrong adjustment at the end. Mike Beam and the guys did a great job. We had Polaris off-road vehicles on board. They make side-by-sides, four-wheelers, and we appreciate them being on board our Fastenal Mustang. The Mustangs were fast. Our car was really fast that earlier run. I was going kind of easy the run right before the final one. I asked for some air pressure adjustments that I shouldn't have, and man, I was loose. Ricky was loose too, though. He did a really good job. I had one of those Blackwell Angus steaks yesterday, and I won. I didn't have one today, and I bet he did, so I'll be eating one next week.
Well, he had a steak, and he's got $1 million from the All-Star race, guys, but a great race for Carl Edwards. Alan?
1-2 finish for Roush Fenway Racing, and in victory lane, the 7th driver to win for Jack Roush in this Nationwide Series, and the newest, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., getting ready to celebrate with his team. Mike?
And Ricky Stenhouse taking a cool drink of water, getting out the driver's side window, getting drenched with water, again, confetti blowing in his face. A big hug from his crew chief, Mike Kelly. An emotional victory lane for Ricky Stenhouse. It was a long time getting here for this kid. Let's pull him out of the scrum. Obviously, it was a lot of work, Ricky, getting to this point. What's this win mean for you?
Oh, it means a lot, man. I tell you what, that last caution, I was doing some praying just for a good restart. My restarts hadn't been that great all year, but it came through, and I got to thank Nationwide Insurance for this awesome series and bringing all these fans out here to Iowa. Man, they're awesome, and I couldn't pick up a better place to win. And Blackwell Angus Beef is on board this weekend, and that's awesome. Whew.
It was a rough year last year, especially here at Iowa. Considering that, how much of a sense of vindication do you have right now standing in victory lane?
Yeah, it was a rough one. I was definitely not my favorite place, or wasn't. It is now, but yeah, we crashed, I think, 3 cars that weekend, and to come back this strong says a lot to these guys. These are the same guys that were with me then, and they stuck with me. Jack Roush, Ford Racing. Man, it's just a blast.
An incredibly emotional victory lane, Shannon. You can understand why. This kid has fought very hard for this first career win.
Well, Elliott Sadler still fighting hard to be your points leader. Leads by 7 points. Of course, you had the pit road speeding penalty. Would things have turned out differently? Could you have won this race if that hadn't happened?
Yeah, probably. I definitely put my team in a hole, but my guys had such good pit stops. They got my track position back for me. Can't say enough for everybody here on One Main Financial team. My first time here to get a top 5, to get caught a lap down there at the end and still fight our way back. We're very happy, very pleased with our run today. So I learned a lot during the race that'll definitely help me the next time we come back.
Elliott Sadler really working all the lines here at Iowa today in the race, and he is your points leader. Dave?
fighting for this championship. Reed Sorensen picks up 3 points on championship leader Sadler. But what happened in the middle of the race, Reed?
Well, I think we had a hole in the right front. It came in about, I think, 12 or 13 pounds less than it was supposed to. And it was hard to drive. I was like, man, what do we do this thing? Because the car was so good. And all of a sudden, I couldn't even make a lap by myself. So it was pretty low. So had a hole in it somewhere. And that last run, we came up through there pretty good, able to get back in the top 5 and get a good run for this Dollar General car. Just want to win so bad. And when you have a car that good, it's hard to swallow when something like that happens. But we'll get back out there, keep bringing good cars to the racetrack, and we'll get this DG car in the victory lane over there.
Thanks, Reed. Led laps, gained a little bit on the championship. Alan?
Dave, thanks. Emotional in victory lane.
Yeah, it's great seeing a first-time winner. Everybody loves to see that.
Talked about, wonder what Jack Roush would say to his young driver. Mike Massaro is going to get the chance to ask him.
And we're going to find out. What'd you say to Ricky?
Well, I asked him what happened to the front of the car, and I told him you put a Darlington stripe on it, and it wasn't even a Darlington. He said, yeah, I did it 3 times. His dad and I agreed they did it with finesse, so it was okay. But I can't tell you how honored I am to be here with Ford and to be here with Mike Kelly and to be here with Mike Beam and Chris Andrews and all the guys that made this nationwide program go. The engine did a great job today. Of course, we got the new FR9 Ford engine in, and just awesome. Ricky Stenhouse is going to be a factor in this stock car racing for many years to come, certainly long after I'm gone, and I'm glad to be here for day 1 for him.
Alan, certainly a great week for Jack Roush's entire organization. They win the All-Star race last night. They put a first-time winner in victory lane today.
Interesting statement from Jack there. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. made his name known today. He'll be a factor for many years to come.
Yeah, Jack knows how to pick these young drivers out and give them a great opportunity.
So while Stenhouse just gets the celebration cranked up in victory lane, remind you that next Saturday, this nationwide series races at the sports hometown track, Charlotte Motor Speedway. Always a fun day. It is on ABC at 2 Eastern time next Saturday. Part of a big motorsports weekend next Sunday.